Yeah, I think it's really important to heal
Mhm.
because it can mess with the lens that you see people through.
Mhm.
Past failures produce future fears. Well, in other words, the good feeling that I have
Mhm.
because a person is new and fresh in my life
Mhm.
can masquerade as peace about the
Right.
relationship. Relationships were not meant to make you whole.
Right.
Okay, they were meant to build with.
Some of this pressure, comes from society.
Oh, absolutely.
Why people
hmm
feel like I have to be in a relationship.
The last thing I read was that almost half of marriages end in divorce.
Mhm.
It's not correct to assume that marriage is going to solve those longings.
Absolutely. That's
There's a
good.
lot of lonely people in marriages. Hello, everyone. Joel Brooks here. Welcome to In Conversation with Joel Brooks. I have my beautiful wife with me again. Hey, baby,
Hello,
how you doing?
everybody. It's nice to be with you guys again.
Yep. And so we're going to stay with the relationship piece. That seems to be where the most interest is. And so we have some questions that some have been sent in, some that we harvested from other areas, but we'll just take them in no particular order, kind of random, and we just deal
Mhm.
with each thing. If you
Right.
have comments, make sure you comment and ask questions in the comments. We'll respond to your questions in the comments. If you have statements, we will deal with them. Maybe you really disagree with us about something, and we can attack that. And so we're interested in engaging you. So make sure you reach out to us. Okay,
Mhm.
what you got there,
That's
babe?
good. Well, some of the questions here. One of the first one they talked about healing before dating.
Yeah. hmm
Why is it important to heal before date, and how unresolved baggage shows up in relationships?
hmm
And so that seems to be a big issue where people feel like they're dating the people that you've dated before when
Right.
they're in that kind of relationship, because people are jumping into relationships
hmm
and they're not really ready for the next relationship.
Right.
So how do you heal before dating, and do you feel that's as important to heal before dating?
Yeah, I think it's really important to heal
Mhm.
because it can mess with the lens that you see people through.
Mhm.
Past failures produce future fears,
Mm.
and so I tend to judge people by my experiences with people like them, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, that's what prejudice is all about.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll prejudge you based on either something I've heard or an experience that I've had. Okay,
Mhm.
and so I think healing, being whole, allows you to look more objectively at another
Right.
person and their behavior. Okay, and so it allows you to rest and just experience the
Mhm.
person's presence without any prejudging or anything
Judgment.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I think being healed is important. I think having peace before you start dating is important.
Mhm.
The Bible says, let the peace of God rule in your heart to which you are called. Okay.
Mhm.
And so I know that you're good for me when peace comes with you.
Right.
Okay. If you come and peace leaves, you got to go.
Mhm.
Okay, because especially the older you get, the more you realize how valuable peace is.
Right.
I think
Exactly.
sometimes when you're younger, you can live without peace because you
Mm.
you think you have an excitement
Right. Or you
when
think you
really
can
what you have
create
is
the peace for
yeah,
someone,
when
and
really
really they
what you have
need,
is drama.
right, they need
And
inner
some
healing.
people they prefer drama to
Mhm.
peace. Okay,
Right.
because it seems exciting to them. But the older you get, how can I say it? You don't want drama in your marriage?
No.
Okay, that's not healthy. And so
Mhm.
so if you already have peace, if you already have a sense of well-being, and you meet somebody and you lose your peace, then you know that that
Mhm.
person's not for you. But you don't know that if you're not healthy.
Right.
And the other thing is that when I'm unhealthy, the excitement of a new relationship can bring the illusion of peace.
Explain that. What do you mean?
Well, in other words, the good feeling that I have
Mhm.
because a person is new and fresh in my life
Mhm.
can masquerade as peace about the
Right.
relationship. Okay,
Mhm.
the relationship can feel right because it feels good,
Right.
but everything that feels good is not right.
Absolutely.
And so if I don't have peace to start out with, I won't know if this is making me feel whole or if
Mhm.
I'm really whole. See, the thing
Right.
about a relationship is that it makes you feel whole.
Mhm.
Okay. But when you're not whole, what happens is that you abuse the relationship and
Mhm.
you use the relationship for something that is not meant for. Relationships were not meant to make you whole.
Right.
Okay. They were meant build with, for two whole people to enjoy and build and go from there and do something the two of them could not have done alone.
Right.
Okay? But when you're trying to do something that you should be able to do alone, you place an unwarranted burden on the person. You're holding them responsible for your wholeness.
Right.
And that's where the fear of loss comes in, because now if I lose you, I'm not whole.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Go
And so,
back to
so that's where the control, I have to control you. If you make me whole, then I have to control you in order to keep my feeling of wholeness. And so the control comes in, the manipulation comes in, and it becomes unhealthy. It can become toxic from there.
And I think that's a real good point, because I think brokenness is a real issue, because people
Right.
feel like they're whole, and so it's like people don't know what to do in the waiting period. You know, once one relationship ends, they feel, I think it's like a value piece, a self value, like I have to be in a relationship. And so why are people uncomfortable with themselves? You know, because I think it's a wholeness piece. Because if I even feel like I have to have somebody else to validate who I am, I have to have a guy or girl to validate who I am, you know, that says that something's wrong, you know, that I'm probably going to pick the same type of person, or a person that's wrong, if I'm not whole myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I think identity has a lot to do with it. I think feeling good about who God made you to be, being comfortable with the design of who you are, has a lot to do with that. And I think when I'm not happy with myself, I look for somebody else maybe who will give me an upgrade in my identity, make me feel better about myself. You know, if I can date the football captain, the captain of the football team, or the prettiest cheerleader, maybe I'm a better person than the way I was feeling about myself before the relationship. And so we wind up using people to fill voids and fill emptiness that we sense in ourselves, or even how we see ourselves, to help us feel better about the way we see ourselves.
Right. Do you think that some of this pressure, you know, comes from society?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, why people feel like I have to be in a relationship, and then you have the let's talk about that part first, the pressure
Okay.
of society, and then I have
Right.
another angle.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of pressure to be with somebody. Okay, because in a lot of ways in society it defines you.
Right.
Like they say, a woman is the reflection of the man she's with. Okay.
Where you at?
I think that's why a lot of women will only, as you say, date up.
Right.
When there's a lot of guys who maybe are not in careers that are ahead of the woman's. They may be a skilled tradesman, somebody who works with their hands. They don't wear a suit every day. That would make the woman really happy on a personal level, okay? But because it doesn't seem like they're marrying up, they may avoid a person like that. You know, when actually that person might be a real source of happiness for them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of societal pressures on that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. The shows, the movies, the music.
Yep.
You know, the songs, the summer songs you remember and during a summer love that you can go back into and say, hey, this was happening at that point.
Right.
So there's a lot of pressure. And I think if for women, I think the pressure is greater for women
Really?
than it is for men, you know, because we also have, especially when you start dating over 30, you know, people start looking at their biological clock.
Yeah.
Well, there's nobody on the scene right now. Right now, I know more single ladies who are 30s, 40s, 50s, and then even in the 60s. People who've never gotten married before. And so I think there is also a hidden underlying fear that people are feeling like maybe I won't get married. I ran into a woman that I know the other day, and she was talking about leaving, you know, Kalamazoo, moving to another state. And so I said, well, why don't you just stay here? Why you seem to always be always running? Why are you going? So well, I got to find a man. There's nobody, and I think they were in their 40s. Like there's nobody here. You know, there's nobody here. I can't find anybody here. I said, so are you saying that God can't bring your husband to you? So you're taking on the role of God now. You're going somewhere else just to find a mate, you know? And so I think there's a fear there, and it almost promises that they're going to make the same mistake.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, look at my situation. I was from a big city, chose wrong the first time. And
You sure did. But go on.
right. Actually lived in the New York, New Jersey, the big city,
Yeah.
And it just means there's more people and sometimes more of the wrong people.
Yeah.
And so it only takes one. And then
Right.
here I meet you all the way Kalamazoo, never heard of Kalamazoo.
Right.
But,
Kalamazoo.
right, is
Right.
what I said, exactly. But I think I was just more determined to have the person that I felt, that was for me versus anybody. So
Right.
anybody didn't matter. It wasn't going to cut it. I wasn't going to do that again.
Right. Right.
And so
I think people look at the odds, they look at the numbers and get discouraged.
right,
You can only marry one person.
right,
So all you need is one person. You're just one trip to the mall, one phone call away from that person, and you don't know where it's going to come from. I think there's pressure on women to put off marriage because because marriage and being a housewife, being a mother is not valued the way it used to be. And so I think there's a tendency to work on my career, in my 20s and work on these kind of things, and then when I get in my 30s, then I want to get married. And I don't think that's healthy. Okay, I think you should go to college to get a degree and a husband. Okay, I think when
he may not be ready in college. We have to see.
he may not be ready, but I think you should, you should look. I think it's easier to select somebody because you're still at the dreaming stage of life. You're still at the vision part, and it's a lot easier to connect to somebody and allow your vision to come to pass. Whereas in your 30s and 40s, you have more demands. When like people say, what are you bringing to the table? Okay, because when you're in your 30s and 40s, you should have some victories under your belt. You should have some accomplishments, some things that you've done, as opposed to just dreaming and vision casting about the future. Even though you should always have a vision, you should always dream. But at a certain age, you should have some things that you've accomplished. You should be down the road in some areas, and I think that puts pressure on dating too.
Right.
So I think women should go into their 20s looking and open to marriage, not looking necessarily, but open to being married. And the guy that you meet, if you meet a great guy, man, don't say, "Hey, I'm working on my degree." Accept the guy and work on your degrees together.
Right, because it could be both. Because you can pursue your career and still, date if you find somebody that's available.
Right.
I think when you're talking about emotional availability, sometimes it's because women tend to mature early. It's not always easy to find men who maybe have the same goals as you.
Right.
Starting out when you're young, and so I think you can have both. I wouldn't turn down someone just because I'm pursuing my career,
Right.
but you do have people who do that.
Right.
It depends on what their career is as well.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
since
tough.
there is a clock, then putting that kind of stuff off is probably not wise. Since there is a biological clock that is ticking. That if you want to have kids, you have a window.
Right.
So I would say that it's unwise to put those kinds of things off. And be open. If the person comes along, be open to
I'd be
them.
open. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be with somebody just to be with them, But I also just believe that, God's going to give you the desires of your heart. He said He'll do that. And so I believe that if you ask Him, even if I decide I'm going to pursue my career, that it can happen. But you have to know that it's possible that you may not, get married, and you have to be okay with that.
Right.
But I feel it's a dream that you have. It's a desire that you give that to God, like everything else.
Right.
And I believe that God can grant that, and then it may be a case where you may not get married.
Right.
But to pursue them both, I think would be wise.
One of the things that we have to understand is that God doesn't require you to be with somebody in order to fulfill your purpose.
Right.
Okay. The why of your existence is not dependent upon somebody else's cooperation with you. And so there is a purpose in your life that can be fulfilled as a single person. And you need to know that, and that you have every capacity to be a happy, fulfilled person and never get married. Okay. So that's one of the first things you need to settle. I like doing worst case scenario whenever I'm faced with a threat of something, a fear. And what if the worst happens?
Right.
Okay, what if I don't get married? Can I still be a happy, fulfilled person?
Right.
And the truth is, yes, you have to be able to, okay? Because God doesn't give you a purpose that requires anybody else's cooperation but His.
Right. That's
Okay,
good.
and so if somebody else was my purpose, then if they leave, did I lose my purpose?
Right.
Or
Absolutely.
if they die, did my purpose die? That's why women have to know that their purpose is not having kids. It's an assignment,
Right.
and it's an assignment that you take serious. Okay, but kids leave.
Right.
Okay, and so your purpose is not something that changes. The why of your life is something that is there your whole adult life, and God helps you. That's what God is committed to in your life. That's what He helps you with, and so and your purpose is the key to your fulfillment
Right.
and your
That's
relationship with God. And so know that you have to know that you can have and pursue a full, healthy life without being married,
Right.
and you need intimate friends in your life. You need close friends,
Right.
people that you trust. Those relationships are really important.
Very important.
You can have a really wonderful friendship with somebody. What's missing is the romance and the sex part, okay? But without that, you can actually have a really rich friendship
Right.
with a person or a group of people that's really supportive and helps you in life. So,
Yeah, and I had that, after my first marriage to divorce. I had a group of friends, and it was very rich.
right,
And we prayed together. We did a lot of great things, together. Our children were close, so
Right.
it was. You look forward, to getting together and to spending time with them. But I think, every now and then, the lonely feeling would pop up.
right,
And so it could, because you have a desire,
right,
for companionship. But I think you have to know where to put those feelings when they come.
right,
Not to allow them to control you. Just kind of keep your, eye on God, what He's called you to do,
right,
and say, okay, God, hey, you know me, because I didn't know if I would ever get married again for sure.
right,
You don't know for sure. You just
Right.
know, okay, this is my heart's desire. Even though I've been through a divorce, I still believe in marriage. I think marriage is good. Marriage is a God thing, and it's
Right.
something that I wanted. But I remember the day when I had to lay it down on the altar, and I just was on my knees and I just said, okay, God, I give this to you, because I may not ever get married, but that's my heart's desire.
Yeah.
And so I remember praying that, giving it to Him, and felt out of nowhere like a tear, that's kind of emotional about it,
Right.
because I wanted Him more than anything else. But I also wanted a relationship. So I think that every now and then you can be strong in who you are. You can have a group of friends, but that lonely thing may pop up.
Right.
You just have to know where to put it, how to think on those things and not to dwell on it and not to make it a big issue, because your life can be great and fulfilled,
Right.
without relationship.
I don't know that we will ever have everything we want.
Right. That's good.
I think in life there's always going to be things you're longing for, and I think that's healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's healthy not to have any longings, not to have anything that you're wanting to happen in your life.
That's
I
good.
think you should always have dreams, goals, visions, and I think there's going to, and since, the last thing I read was that almost half of marriages end in divorce, it's not correct to assume that marriage is going to solve those longings.
Absolutely. That's good.
There's a lot of lonely people in marriages. There's a lot of unfulfilled people who are married, and so we have to realize that it takes certain qualities for a person to be happy, and you want to be that person by yourself, and you want to bring that happiness into a marriage, and take responsibility for doing your part to make it a happy marriage. Because there's a lot of them that are not happy,
Right.
and so we think that when you're single, you kind of make marriage and happiness
The
synonymous.
goal. Right. Absolutely.
But it's not.
Right.
And if you can't be happy by yourself, you're probably not going to be happy married.
Right.
And that's a hard pill to swallow,
Right.
but it's true. If
It
you're
is
not
true.
happy single,
That's
you're
true.
not going to be happy married.
Right. And people feel that. I mean, we see romantic movies all the time. I mean, I love to watch a good
Rom-coms.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
I love romantic movies. They make you feel good, warm and fuzzy inside.
Right.
But people feel that love is the primary tool that you need in relationships. We love each other.
Right.
And it really isn't. There's knowledge, there's vision, there's all types of things. And so you have to have understanding,
Right.
also in the relationship.
Right.
And so it's more than just love. And so I think because people enter into relationships not fully healed or broken in the idea in a particular area,
Yeah.
or maybe don't have knowledge and understanding about what it takes for a relationship to be successful and strong.
Right.
That we have such a high divorce rate today.
I think one of the big ones is disappointment, and where and how to deal with disappointment. I think we come into relationships with expectations, and disappointment doesn't come from what you get; it comes from what you expected.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so I can be disappointed at a restaurant when I'm expecting something, and then it comes out, and so things don't always work out the way you thought.
Right.
And so I think we have to learn how to deal with that, how to deal with disappointment, how to sit down and communicate and say, hey, look, this is what I was expecting. I was expecting this to make me feel this way, but I'm not.
Right.
What do you think's going on? Ask God, what's going on with me that I feel disappointed in my relationship? I thought it was going to do this or that. And, people give you their best selves. They sell themselves during the dating process. And so you have to realize the person you're dating might not be the person you're marrying.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You say that. You say like you have experience
Oh,
in that.
yes. Well, I saw a lot of your little idiosyncrasies before.
Yeah.
But that's true. The expectation piece and disappointment, is really important. And I love what you said, take them to God, because when you take them to God, He gives you a different perspective. And a lot of times we're trying to, we want our mate to change. And there's things about us when we get those disappointments that God says, hey, Yvonne, and it's almost like He turns the mirror around and then you see a different perspective.
Right.
And you realize what's important. But I think it takes maturity and a certain level of even wholeness to be able to see that, and not constantly be on the blame side of things. So you can do it. You don't get everything, all the time that you want,
Right.
And
yeah, I find the video program Pop the Balloon intriguing. At the same time, it's so unhealthy. Why? Because it's so surface.
Right.
It's so petty. You popped a balloon because somebody had on the wrong shoes.
I don't like your shoes, right?
Yeah. You didn't dress right.
Right.
Or you had on a hat, or you had on dark glasses, or you're short, or all those things.
Right.
And so, and I know a lot of marriages where the guy is shorter than the woman, and they're really happy.
Very happy.
And they do really well.
Right.
It's just one aspect. But a lot of it has to do with the image. How do I look with this person? How do I look with this person on my arm?
Right. What are you going to do? What are you going to be when you grow up?
I like to wear heels, and I want to look up to my man.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of tall people that are not.
Right.
They don't qualify to be looked up to. And so you want qualities. It's the inside person. That's the most important.
Right.
So that's who you're really marrying is the hidden man of the heart, the Bible calls him.
I think, although like you said, the show is fun to watch.
Yeah, it's fun. It's intriguing.
But it keeps you immature.
Yeah.
If that's how you really are thinking.
Because you don't know a person.
Right.
You don't, you haven't had a date yet. So you're probably passing up on somebody, because of an outfit they have on.
Right. You could take them to the store,
really
buy new clothes.
Yeah. I used to tease women all the time because I'd hear women talk about, what they require from a man. And I said, sometimes God will hide the man that you're supposed to marry in bad clothes.
Or a Hawaiian shirt.
See, that's personal.
You had a shirt.
She's getting personal now. I like
you
bold,
showed up in a Hawaiian shirt.
Shirts.
Oh my God. Well, I like bright color shirts, and your skin complexion, you look great in colors. But this was like, we're not going to Hawaii anytime soon.
And so she put up with it. And I thought she was cool, man. I thought I was clean. I thought I was looking good, man. Then we get married, and all of a sudden she started cleaning out my closet.
Well, you pulled it out to wear one day, and then I said, "Oh, we won't be needing this shirt."
Right.
Get rid of it. But It's funny.
Yeah, we need to question: is it right for a wife to dress her husband? Is that right?
Well, I don't have to dress you, but I can tell you what looks good. You can tell me what looks good on me too, because sometimes we can be off in our perception.
Right.
But good. Well, that was great.
Well, let's dive into next time some chemistry stuff, emotional availability.
Oh, that sounds
the next time. Let's get into some of those questions. Okay.
Cool.
We have a lot of questions concerning that.
Yeah.
Hey, God bless you, and we'll see you next time.
See you.